Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Murat Güvenç. I'm Managing Director of BeamSec, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's Cybersecurity Roundtable. In today's session, we will talk about Indian banking's next frontier, discussing important topics from cyber resilience to AI innovation and the human risk factor. Please join me in welcoming an outstanding group of speakers. Deval Mazumdar, Cybersecurity Advisor at Sahakar Bank, Amit Tyagi, Senior Executive Director at Maximus Infoware, and Santanu Sangutta, Global Advisor Board Member. Let's start with a quick introduction from our panelists. Who wants to go first?
Well,
Please go ahead.
we go in the same order. So you took my name
Absolutely.
first, Deval Mazumdar.
Yeah.
So I am Deval Mazumdar. Currently, I am working with a leading cooperative bank in India, a TJSB cooperative bank, and as a cybersecurity advisor. Prior to that, I was CISO at again one of the leading private sector banks in India, and I'm also on a technology committee of NSC Clearing, which is a clearing house under NSC.
We appreciate your presence, Deval.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amit, do you want to go next for
All
introduction?
right, sure. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be present for this roundtable. Thank you. A brief introduction. So I am a Senior Executive Director in Maximus. Maximus is an 18-year-old company. We have been focusing on payment, digital, and self-service space, where we make applications in this domain. We are based out of Mumbai, India, and we are a part of the revolution that is happening in payment and digital space, where transactions are skyrocketing. We also have got the opportunity to take real-time payment system outside India by implementing or connecting India with Bhutan and now connecting India with Africa on UPI. So the segments that I interact very closely with are banks, financial institutions who have convenience of payments and cyber security as two, I would say, important points of discussion on the table. So happy to be here.
Likewise, Amit, it's my pleasure to host you. And last but not least, Santanu.
Thank you, Murat, and thanks to you and BeamSec for organizing this roundtable discussion and inviting me to be part of this panel. It's really a pleasure being here. So by way of background, I've been a global banking leader, 3 decades with large international banks, including Wells Fargo, HSBC, etc. And my last assignment in banking was as Managing Director and Regional Head for Asia Pacific South for Wells Fargo, based out of Singapore. Since then, I've been focused on boards and also serve as a strategic advisor to startups and scale-up in technology-enabled businesses. So I currently serve on 4 global advisory boards across multiple geographies, and also as an independent director and audit committee chair for a couple of Indian companies. So obviously, I've been a banking business and risk leader, but I have been associated with a couple of cyber risk management companies for the past year and a half. And so the perspectives that I'll likely bring to the table would be more risk governance, board focused, and from a banking perspective, rather than a pure technical cybersecurity lens. Thank you.
Very good, Santana. I appreciate your presence here. So let's dive into the first topic, from legacy to modern, to understand the cybersecurity gap. As Amit was saying, there are a lot of exciting things happening in India in the banking sector. So as a country, as a sector, you are in the middle of a most ambitious digital transformation. So as banks modernize, what new cybersecurity risks emerging that legacy IT never exposed of? Who wants to take
There's
the
a question
question?
to. I
Yeah,
can
go
take
ahead.
that. As yeah, I see. You compare with the legacy IT systems, the first thing comes to mind is the nature of the implementation of the systems. They were all like siloed. They were all contained within a captive kind of a data center and very, very selectively connected with the outside world. And today, if you see, with all this, transactional banking, online banking, API-based banking, it's all connected everywhere. The systems which were earlier restricted to the data centers, own data centers, now they are moved to cloud. You don't know where they sit. Right now, how do they communicate with the entire ecosystem through APIs? Uh, there are so many services for which the banks have to depend on third parties to provide the services because the banks these days cannot build their own solutions in-house and manage those solutions in-house. So there is larger dependency on the third parties, there's larger dependency, whether it's a cloud provider, whether it's a supply chain, uh, and not to mention the newer technologies that are being kind of offered to the banks or being made available to the banks for various purposes like AI and the quantum, and I would say the risks arising from the post quantum. So these all suddenly, if you compare to last 10 to 15 years legacy IT, it's suddenly the threat landscape has changed and the rate at which, the pace at which these new innovations are coming up. I would summarize in one word, and the innovation is it's sort of a new threat for the new age banking. I'd stop there.
Yeah, really good summary. Anyone wants to add, compliment
Yeah, I
what I was
think
mentioning?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think it's been well summarized. The one thing which I would likely point out is basically in the current scenario as we move from the legacy to the new age technologies, I think operational resilience and cyber resilience become all the more important, right? Because let's face it, we cannot prevent all attacks, right? But how fast we
Mhm.
recover, what are the lessons we learn? I think that's really, really critical. So building operational resilience is really
Mhm.
the name of the game.
Perfect. Perfect. So maybe I should lead to the next question, and Amit, maybe I will forward the question to you. So with that challenges, with that new perspective, now we see many organizations, the cybersecurity, they want to move them from not a roadblock to a business enabler from the competitive landscape. So they can really be a revenue enabler, cybersecurity, or they will continue to do their job, protect their business. But what we are hearing is their involvement as a business enabler is not encouraged. But is it even possible? Do you see any examples for that?
Yeah. So I think time has come where uh, it is going to become a business enabler.
Mhm.
Why I say so is it's now with the scale that the technology is touching the lives of consumers, uh, assurance and trust is going to become a differentiator between the service providers. So if the customer or the consumer of services is assured of the trust, or I would say that a platform they can trust on, I think the ease of use will be superseded by the trust in the transaction that the consumer would do. And if that would be the case, then the cyber security or securing or mitigating or minimizing the risk that the consumer has in availing services from one institution to another, I have no hesitation to say that that is going to be one of the biggest differentiator when a consumer chooses a service from a financial institution. Having said so, that is where I'm very, very clear that cybersecurity will not remain a function. It will get embedded in how it is going to impact the customer journey and the perception of customer using the services.
Very good. Basically, what you are rephrasing, Ahmed, is that security leaders or CISOs will align their cybersecurity goals, their KPIs, with core business objectives.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
any suggestions? Any Deval, Santana, you want to complement what Ahmed was saying?
No, absolutely. I think Amit put it very well. I think coming from business, I think two things I would just quickly point out. I think certainly in banking and financial services, trust is really a revenue enabler, right? Let's get that straight, right? Strong cyber controls can certainly help win corporate clients, fintech partnerships, and most importantly, regulatory confidence, which is, sort of critical in today's day and age. Also, we hear all the time about frauds, etc., happening. So if you have better controls, which minimize frauds or prevent these losses, that certainly improves customer confidence and trust. So that part is very, very clear. You also mentioned about CISOs and how they can basically sort of align with the business objectives. I think that's a very important perspective, right? I mean, in my role in banking and with boards, I interact with CISOs all the time. I think what the gap there, and someone from like me who's coming from not a technology background, I think the first thing which business wants is basically speak in business terms, right? So basically use business metrics, right? So for example, I was associated with a cyber risk management company. They quantified cyber risks in monetary terms, right? So for the CEOs, boards, or CFOs who are not able to understand the technical jargon, the moment you say that, look here, these are the key cyber risks that your organization faces, and this really is the dollar value at risk, immediately it rang a bell, and they were able to, sort of appreciate where their focus should be. So I think, speaking in business terms is very, very important. And I think the other important part is cyber resilience should really be part of product design, vendor selection, AI deployment, right? It should come in before these things happen rather than at the post launch. So these are some quick comments I wanted to make.
Very good, very good. So I will move to the next section, and indeed, this is aligned with what Deval you were saying about companies using different technologies, AI, quantum, and so on and so forth. But let's focus on the AI ambition and the risk reality. Every bank, even every company that I see is either deploying AI, piloting AI, or being asked by its board why you haven't done yet. So the pressure to move fast, maybe unknown, is real. So based on your experience and how you see the market, how do banks find the right balance between pushing AI innovation forward and minimizing risk exposure, which you truly said is the trust, because they can diminish the trust right away? Where is the balance? How do they find that balance?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me put it this way: the AI adoption can be in two broad forms. One is, adopt the AI build AI based solutions directly from the market, whether it's for the cybersecurity, which helps you strengthen your cybersecurity or test your cybersecurity, or improves the operational, let's say, productivity. Uh, the second is which the larger banks, the larger organizations can do is, implement and develop their own solutions which are AI based. Okay, so there are two different approaches to that. So certainly, there are questions, as you said, questions being asked by the board and the top management. What are we doing about AI? And every business team find some solutions on their own, which are business solutions offered as a service or offered as a ready solution that can be deployed on-prem. The organizations are really tempted because the perceived benefits of those AI-based solutions, they are really impressive. And because they bring in efficiency, they bring in that scale at which it can operate, they reduce the dependence on the humans. But at the same time, the same factors actually can go against the very objective of deploying AI if not governed properly. So I think organizations, before jumping into any of these AI-based solutions, must very clearly understand what the underlying solution is, what kind of models there are used, what kind of data is used to train those models, whether these are relevant. Otherwise, it will bring up the bias and let's say for the loan originating system, and it will start either approving, rejecting, and another terminology like explainability. You'll not be able to even explain because it's just a black box that has been implemented. So I see that, and on the other side, RBI, for example, for the banking, the regulator here is Reserve Bank of India, and they have come up with a very nice framework last year, towards the end of last year. It's called free. So not free as in cost, but it's like framework for responsible and ethical enablement of AI in the banking and financial services sector. So, which gives a very, very balanced view on what organizations should be looking at. And while innovation is important and the AI should be used in a way that promotes innovation, the risks need to be addressed, and there have to be some. So there are 26 guidelines, specific guidelines that they have divided into two pillars. One is on the innovation side, the other is on the risk side, and they kind of they suggested is now most organizations, they kind of look at the benefits of AI. So that's the ambition part of it. But the AI governance, which is also equally important, or I would say even more important than looking at only the fulfilling the ambition part of it that the AI can fulfill. So the governance part is, I think, that's still very, very limited and difficult to implement in the organizations. The organizations are setting up the AI governance structure and the teams, and they are looking at what's sensible and what's not sensible. So it's still not very mature, but it'll happen.
Sampana?
Sure. I mean, responsible AI governance is something which is very close to my heart, and so I'd like to add a couple of points. First is, of course, something we all understand, that AI has significant risks, and these need to be very well understood, managed, and mitigated before AI is deployed at scale. Now, I think there was a mention of the RBI free framework. I'll come to that in a minute, but that also sort of highlights the regulatory sandboxes for safe experimentation. I think that's really critical. I think the principles on which the RBI free framework is based, large also models on the EU AI Act. I serve on a couple of European boards, and I know how stringent and how conscious they are of the responsible AI. So I just wanted to point out that, yes, we have, developments coming in AI. Now we have agentic AI also. So absolutely human oversight is important. Innovation must come with trust, fairness, explainability. But I think human in the loop, and for agentic AI, human on the loop is really, really critical. The final point that I would like to make on the AI risk is I think it would be good to classify AI systems in terms of their risk grading, right? So for example, if there is something which is just an automation system, probably that's lower risk, and we don't need so many guardrails vis-a-vis those which are focused on credit decisions, fraud, or other lending decisions. I think there the human oversight is and having that explainability is really critical. Thank you.
Santana. Amit, please.
Yeah, so just to add to the points, I think we being a software company who are developing applications for real-time payments, the like I earlier said, the convenience and guardrails are equally important when we are developing applications. One input which I want to add is probably AI can come to the rescue to, in the context of cybersecurity, reduce the frictions of securing the applications from the user point of view. What I mean by that is, if today I use an application and because of cybersecurity, there are a lot of friction points, usernames, passwords, OTPs, generation of OTPs from network, etc. It adds to the friction point. Maybe when the applications are getting designed, AI will be able to help reduce those friction points and make it as transparent as possible for the user, uh, having guardrails there. So the cybersecurity related aspects are running at the background and not as much on the front, which is increasing the friction point. So when we are developing it, we are keeping that in mind, that how do we use AI responsibly? How do we also enable or leverage AI to reduce the friction points to keep the application secure from user point of view?
Very good. So I want to expand a little bit on the human oversight. So Santan, you rightly brought it up. So European AI Act will be enforceable, as you all know, August 2nd, with a huge penalties. If their system fails, accountability goes to the developer, like basically the company itself. And the RBI's free framework, probably with all the controls, is trying to encourage. But in the meantime, as Dell is saying, it's all about AI. Expected outcome is automation, dependence on less human. So in the meantime, with the agentic AI, as you are saying, I mean, things getting a little bit out of control in the right way. So how is that possible with all those things now happening in the rapid pace, with all those complex that are orchestrated? How are we going to find all those skillful humans that can oversee what AI system can do? Is it even possible?
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll
just to
take a
me.
step.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No. I just wanted to make a very quick comment on this one. I think at the end of the day, and coming from a board perspective as well, I think we cannot outsource accountability. We cannot say that, okay, the vendor or the algorithm is responsible for the risks, right? We need to own it, right? It cannot sit with the model vendor or algorithm. I think clearly accountability is, critical. I think the European Union AI Act clearly, puts a lot of emphasis on accountability, and so also in the Indian context, right? For example, the RBI framework has some parts of it have already started getting implemented, including, for example, a board-approved AI policy. So I think the AI accountability must sit with the business owners, the risk owners, and the governance, committees. And I alluded to high risk AI earlier. I think we should classify our AI systems in terms of, the risk grading. And for high risk AI, I think banks clearly need approval, monitoring, escalation, and indeed audit trails, right? In the banking and financial services, right, human accountability is something which is clearly non-negotiable, and must form the core of AI governance. That's really my take on this. While AI can recommend and assist, but accountability has to remain with the humans.
Right. Can you comment, Amit? I think you were saying something. Or Deval, do you want to add a few comments on it?
Yeah. So in
Yeah.
fact, what I was saying was that we have to imagine the world of models in which employees are the stakeholders as well as the agents are the stakeholders, right? And all this while we have had key performance indicators, right? KPIs for employees. But in the new world where employees, agents, all are contributing to the risk profile, probably time has come to also coin a term called KRI, key risk indicator, right? So if an employee is doing a specific work, besides his KPI, what is his KRI, key risk indicator? And that would go to an agent as well. So if the agent is reading the content in a RAG framework only from the document has completely different risk than an agent who is fetching the data from the global world. So I would say that in the new world of agents and employees, KRI would be very important at the agent and employee level to be able to identify the risk and hence mitigate it.
Like that. I like that. And Deval, you were saying something, I guess?
Yes, I just want to add one angle to this is when we talk about AI in an environment, and if it fails, then it is mostly seen as technical failure. Is the technology team that has failed? It's not programmed correctly, or it is not controlled or governed correctly. But I would say that AI is, after all, it's a tool with a different capabilities at different scale, which needs to be seen as and treated as any other application that's currently there in the organization. While the technology team will ensure the technical and security controls around that, the business team still needs to define the expectations and control and monitor the outcomes.
Deval, you are still with us?
They get the
Yeah.
desired output and outcome from the deployment. Yes, yes.
Oh,
I actually
okay.
I had a yeah. Okay.
Very
And
good. Very good.
of course, ultimately, the responsibility is of the top, that remains with the top management, that they need to ensure that, whatever is deployed is within the compliance framework of the regulator, within the organization's policy, and it is actually delivering what it's supposed to deliver, and not just some kind of, COE kind of project, right? Because it may affect customers directly. So
It's true.
that's the element I want to put, not just purely look at AI as a technical responsibility. It's again a responsibility of every team in the bank.
Very good. Santana?
Yeah, no, thanks. I think a very important point has been made, and I just wanted to, sort of elaborate or double click on that one, right? I think, the whenever there is an issue which happens, I think the blame is shifted to technology, right? And coming from a business, I think that's not correct. I think the first thing is having the right risk culture, right? And cyber hygiene, cyber awareness, and I think training should not be an annual tick box exercise, right? That you do a module, complete it, and forget about it. I think we should start having short, frequent, role-based simulations, and importantly, not just punish mistakes or reprimand or penalize the mistakes, but importantly, I think reward good behavior, good security behavior. I think that's really, really important. The other thing I want to point out, I think with the emergence of AI, the shadow IT is becoming a real serious problem. And I think there has to be a lot of tone at the top, the culture, which I alluded to, and basically, rewarding the right kinds of behavior and penalizing the behaviors which increase the risk. Because whilst technology is evolving, and even some of the emerging cyber risks from AI can be countered with AI, like human behavior is I think the weak link, right? Because people tend to click on whatever comes to them, etc., etc. So I think that spending time on the risk culture of the organization, and training or educating employees, I think is really, really critical.
Santanu, you brought a very important topic. So we tend to spend a lot of time on conversation on systems, controls, infrastructure, but as you rightly said, there's always a human gap in the chain. But you also brought up the keyword awareness. So I just want to get Amit's and Deval's opinion on that one. How easy it is to move from checklist activities, training, awareness to a cultural shift. I think with the AI, we need that movement. It is not about training a set of certification, but this cultural change at all organization level. What is your take on that? To complement basically what Santana was saying.
Yeah. See, cultural change is it's a different term. It's certainly not just basic training or awareness. It's like how people behave, right? Without being told to behave in a certain way. How they behave. That's their natural way of working, and that's where we need to bring about the change. But then they always look upon their seniors, right? So I think the culture change, or for that matter any change, should stem from the top, right? If the top people, they stop asking for exceptions, asking for some risky kind of access, unless it is need based. So if they strictly stick to need based access across all layers of the hierarchy in the organization, that change, first of all, is difficult. And then comes the adherence to the processes and policies. I think the tone has to be set from the top, that compliance and adherence to the organizational policies, whether it's AI, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's privacy, or any other regulatory guidelines. The compliance is the first, because the compliance is the basis for which the organization, or because of which the organization exists. If you are non-compliant, then the regulator can pull the plug at any point of time, or actually suspend your operations for a certain period of time. We have seen that happening, the regulator doing that in the Indian banks. So I think that tone has to come from the top. And of course, what Santanu already explained, there could be various ways. There could be gamifications, there could be peer rate trainings, role-based trainings, because not everybody is expected to practice the same type of controls. It depends on their role, like where exactly they fit in the organization. They have to focus more on something, less on something. So everybody should understand what is their role in operating that machinery of the organization, and how do they focus on protecting that. And everybody should become a whistleblower if they see something going wrong, or something going out of control. May not be completely wrong, but something that's slipping. That's an early warning, and they must know where to report it. So I think this entire thing, it's about the approach to the awareness, rather than on the technical aspects. Certainly will be part of the awareness, but the culture has to be set in right from the top, and the top management must drive this to conclusion, or to the end, right up to the last person in the organization, and extending to the third party. I was about to miss that, but yes, because third parties are, while we call them third parties, they are very much part of the organizational operations, and they also must be aware of what kind of organization they are dealing with. So they might be dealing with 10, 15 different organizations, but when they are dealing with our organization, they must observe this discipline, and they must behave in certain. They must follow certain policies and processes which have been shared with them. So that's my take on bringing about the cultural change.
Very good. I can't agree more. I like the approach you are saying. Everybody needs to be whistleblower. I love that. So, any remarks on that topic that you want to add?
Yeah, I would just add briefly that I think from the culture point of view, the employee needs to be told or needs to get that they are a very, very important chain in the chain of guarding the company. So the way an employee guards his home, office being his second home, must also be aware that how critical he is, how critical his role is to guard the company. And like I earlier said, I see boards of performers who achieves business, but I think there has to be boards of employees who are taking proactive actions in guarding the company, and analytics obviously can play a role in that. But uh, I think there is some work to be done where employees know that every action they take has an impact from cyber security point of view for the company. And then
Well
probably
said.
slowly and steadily that will get into the culture as well.
Very good. Well said. So before we close, I want to give each of you the final word. In one line, what is the next big shift for the banking sector in India that we are not even talking today?
I'm happy to go first if that's okay.
Yes. Yes, please.
Um, I think trust will become even more important, right? Trust-driven AI infrastructure. And the second point related to that is that the winners in the banking industry over the next decade will not really be the ones who deploy AI the fastest, but the ones
Hmm?
who build trust, resilience, and cyber resilience is included in that, and responsible innovation at scale.
Very good.
Okay. I would say a more technical term, or the factor that the banks so far have not really worked on. They might be aware. It's the post quantum cryptography, and while everybody currently is busy with compliance to the DPDPA and privacy, uh, I think the PQC, the threat uh, emerging from the PQC, which was earlier believed to be like 10 years away, and the Q day, then it is believed to be like 2030. And then we have been hearing it could be, as early as like next year, that the existing cryptography could be broken. So I think the banks need to really start looking at that, start building that Q bomb and C bomb, and understand where they are, because the even if they take their hybrid cryptography approach, it's going to take a lot of time. So that's something that the banks as a and see, the banks are not like, linking it to your very first question. It's not the legacy setup. It's not an isolated setup. So it's all interconnected. And when it is an interconnected system, you can't change alone. You need to ensure that you take along everybody else in the change. Otherwise, they will stop talking to each other. The APIs, the transfers, and all those interconnected systems will not work if the entire ecosystem does not upgrade to the PQC.
Exactly. Amit, last remarks?
Yeah. Yeah. So in my view, I think we are going to move to what I would want to call it as behavioral banking, especially in Indian context. There are so many options of banking, the channels, the use cases. But from a customer point of view who wants to do multiple things, I think he would stop thinking about which channel to use or which mode of payment to do. Probably that will move in the back end. And the 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 customer journey that has to be completed, that would be on the front. the backend, which channel is more resilient, which channel is more secure, which channel is working well, that would be chosen by the different layer. So I think in next couple of years, behavioral banking will make banking go to the backend, and the customer will be transparent to how the transaction is happening. I think he would be more focused on his to get his work done.
Excellent. So, Santana, Amit, Deval, I truly appreciate your availability, being part of Cyber Circle and sharing your valuable insights. I look forward to our collaboration, our conversation on other occasions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye bye.